It's the Hot Stove presented by the Couple Mets podcast. I'm Ian
All right, Queasy.
Bosniak.
All right, Queasy. Let me do it.
Yeah, yeah,
All
take
right.
take
This is
over.
the Hot Stove brought to you by the Cup of Mets podcast. I'm Matt DeSantis, joined by Ian Bosniak as always. And we got maybe a little doozy for you tonight, but at least we have a couple signings and hopefully things are moving in the right direction. And maybe we'll have an answer on Juan Soto soon.
Yeah, brother. Some things are moving. I'm glad you took over that. Definitely dealing with some laryngitis, but I feel okay. So I felt why not? I know that they say don't talk, but what's another 40 minutes of talking? I'm gonna do it after we hop off anyway. So screw it.
Exactly.
But you mentioned from the outset. We figured last episode that there would be movement within the coming days, and there was. Mets inked Frankie Montas to a 2-year, $34 million contract. And because that happened a couple days ago and some things are churning right now, we're not going to spend an arm and a leg on it. With that said, at first, $34 million over 2 years. You look at his numbers from this past year, a 471 expected ERA, right? And he gets $17 million a year. At first, I was saying, what the fuck is going on, right?
Yeah.
For a guy who really only turned it on once he got dealt from Cincinnati to Milwaukee last year. Ended with a 4.84 ERA, struck out 148 and 150 innings. So it's not like he's overpowering. Then the following day, we see Matthew Boyd sign with the Cubs for $30 million over 2 years, so $15 million annually. And then I say to myself, all right, this is kind of making sense. It seems like teams are paying
Yeah.
for innings at this point, and
Exactly.
I'm not too upset about it. I kind of like the move.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not upset at all. Starting pitching is expensive, and we saw what they're able to do with different pitchers. Sean Manaea was nothing crazy until he became a Met, and they tweaked that arm angle and his pitches and stuff like that, and then he became the the pitcher that we were able to rely on. So I think if they see something with Frankie Montas, then I'm okay with it. That's not going to be the biggest move this offseason, so keep going.
Sure. And I'm going to preface by saying I didn't dive into this article, but Fangraphs is my go to for everything. And I see an article that said that the Mets and Frankie Montas was inevitable, a perfect match. And I think that this is a perfect example of someone that's Stearns and Co. They're going to send right
Hmm.
down to Port St. Lucie. He's going to work in the pitching lab. Is he going to strike out batters at the same rate that he did in Oakland? Probably not. But at the same time, at age 31, as you said, another reclamation project. This is more so along the lines of the contract that Sean Manaea signed last year, just
Yep.
more money. It's really a 1 year deal with an opt out after one, so Montes can get that multi-year deal should he have a good season.
And
So it's
and then
kind of a win-win.
he has a good season. We slap the qualifying offer on, we get an asset in terms of a draft pick. So I feel like they're playing chess. Like they're playing like this game where it's like Severino, good as gone. He's not coming back, I don't think. So he signed somewhere else. Boom, fourth round pick in the compensation round. Mania, who I'd love back if he signs elsewhere.
Well, him
Boom.
and I let me just say, him and Montes are boys.
Yeah, but I think Mania is going to get a fucking boatload of money, which I'm not sure if I'm prepared to pay him.
Yeah,
So,
I think we were talking about it last episode, right? About after Kikuchi signed with the Angels getting 21 mil, we were like, what is Manaea going to get? Manaea really might get 24, $25 million a year,
yeah,
which at that point,
he
unless it's a
might get the
3 year
same
deal, I'm
amount
going to
as
do it.
Pete Alonso.
Yeah, bro,
Wild.
it's unreal. And the funniest part about it is that, dude, like how many teams rely, even the better teams, how many teams rely on their bullpen more than the rotation? And then all the money's going to, and again, I understand you need someone to eat up a bulk of those innings in the beginning of the game. That's why they're starters. That's why they get paid the big bucks. But the other thing too is with such an emphasis on going to the bullpen earlier in games, paying a guy like Frankie Montas, you know, 30 starts last year, 150 innings. So what he averaged like 5 starts, 5 innings a start, right? And you're paying him $17 million a year. That's insane. That's
Yeah,
insane. But
well,
it's only, dude, it's only going to get crazier with the,
dude,
with the,
I bet you 20 people were sitting around a table saying, okay, we can do something better with Frankie Montes. I can guarantee that. So, honestly, I trust Stearns. I trust our pitching lab, and I think we'll get the best of Frankie Montes this upcoming season.
Lord, we hope so. We hope so. I
Yeah.
mean, I think what's enticing to me is obviously what the Mets organization can do with him, as we
Hmm.
saw again with Minaya and Severino last year. But the other thing with Montes that I'm noticing is that when you go to some of his advanced metrics, he's definitely going to be a work in progress. Even though he did look pretty good with the Brewers down the stretch, you look at some of his advanced metrics, doesn't get swing and misses, doesn't get hitters to chase a lot, pitches to a lot of contact, and he's a fly ball pitcher. So that works for City Field as well.
For sure.
But at the same time, hitters are barreling up the ball. He is walking batters. His walk rate went up a bit this year. So just certain things to note. But again, right now, as it stands here on December 4th, we're looking at a current rotation. And obviously, it's not going to stop there. It's been confirmed by multiple reports that the Mets are going to go after several more arms, and we'll get into that. But right now, as I said, on December 4th, we're looking at Kodai Senga, Frankie Montas, David Peterson, Paul Blackburn, who I think it's his birthday today. So happy birthday, Paul Blackburn. And then Tyler McGill being the
Yep.
fifth starter.
But
And
more work to be done for
more
sure.
work to
So
be done. And it's funny because I know I mentioned we're not going to spend a long time on this because Montes has been a Met now for several days, but the move was just
technically for several hours because he passed his physical,
yeah.
and then Stearns had this to say about him.
Thank you.
Sorry to cut you off,
No, no,
but
thank you for taking it off my hands. Less words. I'm good.
throughout his career, Frankie has flashed some of the best stuff in the game. He'll provide a stabilizing presence to our pitching staff and contribute on and off the field. So happy to hear that. That shows like nothing but confidence in the player. They're happy about the signing. So, I trust him. I trust David Stearns.
What reason has he given us not to trust him?
Exactly. So, you know what? I just want to see Moneybags Cohen come out and fucking sign Juan Soto. Like, let this be ours. I feel like it's going to be like maybe right before the winter meetings or during, maybe
Well,
day one.
I know, and we'll touch upon Juan Soto in greater detail momentarily, right? But Jeff Passan just a little while ago, and I really don't like ESPN. I doubt you do either, but he was on ESPN and he did say that Juan Soto will be meeting with the final teams that he's narrowed down because he has begun eliminating teams, which was reported the other day. The meetings this weekend will be the final, and we should know where Juan Soto will be probably spending the rest of his career by Sunday. So that's really exciting on all ends. Listen, if we
Oh,
get
yeah.
him, it's incredible. It's a franchise changing signing, right? But then at the same token, if we don't get him, we can actually move on with the offseason and we can plug all the holes that we have to plug because the Mets
If
have
we
quite
don't
a
get
few.
him, but how would you feel if we don't get him? Do you think of it
Uh,
as a disappointment?
yeah,
Disappointment?
yeah, I'd be pretty pissed.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
think this is the time for the richest owner in baseball to show what he's capable of. So honestly, I'd be really disappointed. I think
yeah,
if they have to go to 700 million,
I agree, and I never thought that I would utter those words because I really only thought a guy like Shohei who can pitch and hit would be worth anything close to that. But
yeah,
not only in the Cohen era, right? If you look back, remember '04, '05, '06, all the rumors about Manny Ramirez coming out of the Mets, right?
yeah,
And then you move deeper. The only times that we've been able to acquire these big, big, big players have been via trade, right? Unless
yeah,
they've been developed.
pretty
And
much.
right, the biggest signings that we've had have been Carlos Beltran and you know guys that towards the end of their career, Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, we're not like we look. I mean, Lindor, we traded for him and then we signed him. Johan Santana, we traded for him, then we signed him. So to
Hmm.
me, I just feel like this is the guy that you have to get. He's 26 years old. He's 26 years old. Teams are looking
Exactly.
at signing. Look at Aaron Judge. He signed a 10-year deal at age 31 years old, 30 years old, right?
Yeah.
We're getting him at
And then I
26
was
years old.
talking to a coworker today about it, and even he brought up a good point. How would you feel if you were Aaron Judge being the Yankees captain and this kid gets double, maybe not triple, but double what you get? I don't see the Yankees going to the maximum as Steve Cohen. I think it's down I mean, I don't know if Boston would go that far, but I think they're very much in it.
Yeah. Well, those have been the reports. There was a report over the weekend that people believe that it's going to come down to the Mets and the Red Sox. Andy Martino, I think it was, he's a clown, but Andy Martino reported that the Blue Jays, many within the bidding wars, believe that the Blue Jays will end up being the highest bidder, which I don't buy whatsoever. I don't think Steve Cohen will let anyone outbid him, and I also don't see.
No top player is going to fucking Canada.
No,
Like I can
especially.
promise you Canada is in the fucking gutter and no one is going there. Especially the best player
Well, the other
to
thing,
ever hit free agency in a long time.
the other thing too is how are they going to muster up, spending 650, $700 million on Juan Soto, and then give Vladimir Guerrero Jr. a chunk of change, who's set to hit free agency after next year,
And Bo Bichette.
and Bo Bichette. It's not possible. So what are you selling
I
him on?
mean, and then you look at the Yankees payroll. They're like neck against the luxury tax. They might even be over it. So
And not only that, remember what I said last week. He's looking at the long-term picture as well. If the Yankees are strapped like that financially when they sign him, in 4 years, when he's 30, still hitting 45 home runs a year and, winning MVP awards, this, that, and the third,
yeah,
the rest of the group, they're all going to be in their upper 30s, and you don't know what the production's going to be.
exactly.
Right. So, and, we'll dive into that. But I mean, actually, I mean, I feel like we summed it up pretty well because the
Yeah,
result.
we did pretty quickly, and honestly, like I feel like that's the best that we can do at the moment. We spit out everything that we know, and the facts, and at this point, the only thing we can hope for is to come home with the gold trophy, aka Juan Soto Pacheco.
On Soto Pacheco. You know what's funny? The first time you mentioned that, I forget when it was. I don't know if it was the first episode of the Hot Stove this year, but I laughed and I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I never told you this, but I really had no idea what the hell you were talking about. And then and then I saw and then I saw his Instagram. It's like Juan Jose Soto Pacheco.
That's probably his middle name, Jose Soto Pacheco. I
Yeah,
feel I Spanish descent have like multiple last names. I'm pretty sure. Could be
yeah.
wrong.
I kind of like that. Imagine Juan Soto Pacheco. Ooh,
Imagine just Soto dash Pacheco on the back of a jersey.
it's kind of fire.
That would fucking hit like crack.
That's kind of fire.
No, ladies and gentlemen, I've never done crack.
I was just gonna say, how are you talking? Yeah. Oh boy. But yeah, no, dude, as long as it's coming this weekend, that would be music to absolutely all of our ears. I think all the bidders, outside of the Dodgers because they're just loaded. I don't think he's going to LA, so we can push that away. The
He
only
doesn't want the West Coast. He didn't like San Diego.
No, and I think the only thing, the last thing on Soto outside of what we already said regarding the Red Sox is that, it's Big Poppy and Pedro are really recruiting for them. You know what I mean? And yes, they have a good farm system. Yes, they have Raffy Devers. Boston's an excellent baseball town. They have the history, but I really don't see it. I would if I had
I mean, their top prospect, my Marcello Meyer, like
isn't it Roman
he had a
Anthony?
pretty shitty year.
Isn't it Roman Anthony?
Is it?
I don't
Maybe
know.
he's their updated top, but then right after is
Yeah,
Marcello Meyer.
Roman Anthony.
I think
Uh,
he's a stud. He'll be
he's a,
good.
he's a stud.
I don't
And
think
then
Meyer's gonna be what they think he is. He's been in the minors for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and then they stole Braden Montgomery because he fell to them to the
Uh,
number 12 slot. So they have him in the outfield. I mean, listen, they have a great farm system. 1 through 5: Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, Christian
it's
Campbell,
just
Kyle
they
Teel,
haven't
Braden Montgomery.
shown to spend money around Soto. So
Yeah,
I
and in
mean,
and in previous years, John Henry, right? He's the owner.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
spoken about reducing payroll.
He almost didn't fucking pay Devers. Like, bro, what?
Yeah, yeah.
Not gonna pay. And he's also an idiot. He sent Mookie Betts away for a bag of baseballs. Like
Right. And how
fucking
old was Mookie Betts when they traded him?
Verdugo, like probably like 26,
Exactly.
27.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I don't necessarily buy because if you were trying to build a team around somebody, man, along with Devers, you hold on to Mookie Betts. And
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
funny. It's funny you brought that up because I mean we brought that up because I that was a conversation I had with somebody today. It's hard to fathom them spending $700 million on or 650 whatever it is gonna be on Juan Soto after dishing out all that cash to Rafi Devers after refusing to give Mookie Betts the contract that he deserved. So
Yeah, that would just be moronic. And they would have gotten bets for a great price at that time.
yeah, listen, I'm. Do you mind if I say this? I'm just gonna say it.
Over it.
All right. Next time
Say
we
what?
record, Juan Soto's gonna be a Met.
Okay, good.
There it is.
I'll hold that up to you.
All right.
If it
Perfect.
goes
Well,
back to the fucking Yankees, then I'll be holding a pitchfork in front of your house.
I live in an
Be
apartment,
coming
so
at I'll be
we're
coming
straight.
after you.
No, so we're
Uh,
straight. I'm in an apartment, so I don't think you can get
yeah,
in
true.
unless you have the code. But
Nah, I really hope that the next time we record, he's a Met.
I think he is, dude. That's gonna be one of those like, all right, everyone drop what you're doing. Let's hop on. Maybe we'll gun it live. I don't know, but
Yeah, and
dude,
maybe Rob will come on for that. So we'll see.
yes sir, yes sir. It should be should be good. Yeah, and I mean, listen, the Juan Soto drama and saga is not necessarily just holding up the Mets' plans when it comes to potentially re-signing Pete Alonso or signing a Willie Adames or this guy and that guy, right?
I mean, I'm sure
It,
they pitched to him that we're gonna go sign Pete back
oh, without a doubt.
after your
With
after your after you uh, like agree.
sure. He definitely knows what the Mets like have in store for the rest of their offseason, without a
Yeah,
doubt.
for
But
sure.
what a lot of people don't recognize, right, is that when you have and we were talking about the pitching before, so I want to revert back to the pitching. We brought up the rotation. Seemingly speaking, the Mets are going for a World Series in 2025 and beyond. So you would like to get Paul Blackburn and Tyler McGill into that 6 man or potentially depth in the bullpen, whatever, long man in the pen, whatever it may be, right? So you got room for like another starter or two, right? And I think that when you look at some of the big names on the board, again, the Mets front office doesn't have any leaks. But there's a scenario where Mets don't sign Soto and they say, screw it. Let's go sign a big wig pitcher, right? So everything literally is getting held up by Juan Soto, not just offensively,
Yeah,
but on
for
the mound
sure.
as well, right?
Everything is getting hold up.
Right. So before we go into some of the screw it, let's just go into this because the Mets have had some interest in some pitchers recently, but I just want to note, we brought up the price tags that are attached to some of these arms that we've seen go thus far and that players are requesting. How would you evaluate the starting pitching market right now? You don't have to necessarily give me names, but given the prices, given our needs, how would you evaluate it from a Mets standpoint? How would you go about it?
I mean, I would say that it's through the roof. So I would grab your value signings like they did with Montas. It's a 1 year deal pretty much, unless he's a stinker next year, which I doubt. I
Nope.
think he'll end up coming out and playing well. Um, but the way I would realistically attack it, and like you said it perfectly. It falls the Soto's the domino. He is the domino. If they do not get him, I think they will either get one of Fried or Burns, and then I think that they'll go after another bat and they'll bring back Pete. Obviously, I think even with Soto that they would bring back Pete
I
because
agree.
how are you gonna? How are he's you're trying to say Soto's not gonna be like, well, is your best player other than Lindor coming back?
Yeah.
Like Pete Alonso, like is he coming? The guy who I've been facing for like 7 years, is he coming back? But anyways, I would look for value signings. Sproat is very close. I think he's going to be like a May call up, April maybe.
Dude, who said all this? Who said all this? They said that they should try to nip at the rotation and then just go all out for the offense. Who said that?
Yeah, who
Oh shit,
knows?
that's right. It was me. I've been
Yeah.
saying it forever.
So who knows, bro? Like I said, we really just have to wait for the domino to fall, and then shit's gonna happen. Then there'll be a hot stove.
Sure, sure. Now, something that's interesting, and you talk about value signings. I've been talking about it forever, and we know that David Stearns is really good at it. w- there was a report last night that the Mets have interest in Walker Bueller.
Yeah.
What's your take there? Because that's somebody that most likely a team will overspend and they will either get, as you referred to, before, either a stinker,
Yeah.
somebody who's not going to respond well after some injuries,
Mhm.
or you're going to get somebody that could potentially opt out after a year if he flashes what he showed in 2021 or 2019. Uh, to me, it has to be really short term, as I said,
Of
and
course.
and I don't know. Do you?
But I read a report saying that Walker Bueller would have accepted the qualifying offer. So
Sure,
might be able to land him on a 1 year deal or um similar to like a Mania or anybody else where you give him a one plus a couple if he wants to opt out after one.
right. So given the state of the market, I think you actually said it perfectly there. Maybe a different position, but he pulls it to Oscar Hernandez, right? And he decides to sign a 1 year contract that's heavy.
Yeah.
Would you, and again, looking at the starting pitching, seeing what people are getting, but also noting the potential upside on Bueller,
Mhm.
would you give him a 1 year, $24 million contract?
I don't know. I'd have to see how other moves. If they did that tomorrow, I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, there's better ways to allocate $24 million. So I'd have to see what they did before that to judge it.
Right. The only reason why I'm bringing that up is because you mentioned the report, and I saw that as well. That Bueller was,
Yeah.
would have signed a qualifying offer had it been extended to him. You know,
Hmm.
I just think that to me, again, I that would entice me much more than a long term deal or anything like that because you know that he's a free agent after the year and he's going to be playing for a contract. But
Yeah.
you toss Bueller into that rotation, you're dealing with two guys at the front end of your rotation in Senga and Bueller who there are question marks when it comes to health. So I just
Yeah.
think it's kind of too risky. But then
Senga should be starting pitcher five at this point right now. That's
now
how we should be viewing him
I
based off of what we saw at the end of this year.
yeah, I mean, listen, I think that it was a little unfair to judge him off of the postseason performances.
All right. Well, he fucking sucked.
I know,
Like,
no, I know he did. I know he
he
did.
has to show. He has. I mean, luckily he's only on for 15 million.
Yeah,
So
right now, I mean, imagine he hit the market like a year later, he would have gotten like an absolute
if
bag.
he pitched like he did, he would have triggered that opt out, and
Yep.
then he probably would have gotten like Garrett Cole Snell money.
Yeah, sure,
But you know,
sure. Well, I mean, good for us. I mean, hopefully, right?
well, we
Hopefully,
have him now for 3 more years.
yeah, yeah. And another report that came out that I found funny because I spoke to a source before the. This is so funny. Just I literally spoke to a Yankee source about right before we hopped on the podcast, actually, and I said to him, "The Yankees are out of the running, right?" And he said, "I wish I knew, but I don't." Wait, what'd he say? I gotta find this shit. Hold on. He said, "I wish I knew so I can get out of this constant state of anxiety, but they're keeping their lids shut in the Boris camp."
Yeah.
I mean,
So.
they're not, keeping their lids too shut if we know that he's going to make a decision by the weekend.
Mhm.
But but speaking about, sources, I spoke to a source before the hot stove began that said that the Mets really, really liked Clay Holmes. The
Mhm.
difference, however, is that that source never said that the Mets considered him to be a potential starter. The Mets are interested in Clay Holmes as a potential starter. Had a very up and down year with the Yankees last year. I mean, if you ask Yankee fans, they would say that he's, not too great or he's a liability. But, on our end, looking in, looks pretty good. He started 4 games at the front end of his career with the Pirates back in 2018. Since then, he hasn't started, relegated to the closing duties back in 2022, posted a 2.54 ERA. 2.86 ERA in 2023, 3.14 ERA this past year, but had some hiccups. Actually blew 13 saves.
Yeah, no, I feel like every other day I heard he was blowing a safe and
Yeah, yeah. So I again now we're hearing that the Mets are interested in him as a starter, and when you're interested in him in a starter, there's another free agent out there named Jeff Hoffman who teams were also interested in. And I would assume that if the Mets are interested in Clay Holmes, that they must hold interest in Jeff Hoffman as well. Jeff Hoffman was an all-star this past year, but has more starting experience as he came up as a starter with the Rockies. I'll be honest, I love Clay Holmes' stuff. I really do. When he can locate it, he's one of the better pitchers in the game. You look at his advanced metrics, 80th percentile and above in expected ERA, fastball velo, whiff percentage. K percentage is 67th percentile, but you're still looking good. Barrel percentage and ground ball rate. He's a ground ball pitcher. Loves throwing that sinker. He's got a sinker slider sweeper combo, but the sinker really is his bread and butter. Throws that 56% of the time. I think Clay Holmes would be a really, really interesting fit with the Mets. He knows New York. He's shown that he can be durable. I wouldn't mind bringing Clay Holmes in on like a 3 year, $42 million contract or something along those lines. 3 years,
yeah,
45,
why
given the
not?
state, because at the very worst, you get someone who can't start, but then you throw him into the bullpen. You let him pitch in the bullpen. We get another good bullpen arm,
Yeah. No, I agree. Definitely, I would take Clay Holmes. I definitely would.
right? So then if you were to if you were to have Clay Holmes, then you'd be looking at Sanga, Montas, Peterson, Clay Holmes, and Paul Blackburn. You're looking at more stability there. No matter what, I think there's two arms that need to be brought in. They're also interested in Michael Soroka, and that's a former starter turned reliever. I just felt like I would mention that.
Hmm.
The last thing, though, before we kind of put our GM caps on, there I really think there should be rumbling given the state of given the prices of pitchers in the free agent market. I really think the Mets should be evaluating the rotation, the trade market when it comes to the rotation a bit more. There are rumblings that the Astros might be selling on Framber Valdez.
I fucking doubt that, bro. I doubt that. That's Dana Brown, like typical like old Braves executive leaking shit. Like he ain't selling. The Astros are always looking to win.
I agree. The thing is though is that he is currently he's projected to get like north of 15, 16, 17 million dollars in arbitration.
Mm.
And this will be his final year of arbitration, right? And then he's headed for free agency going into next year. So I was just, Framber Valdez to me, I don't think the Astros would necessarily be selling because they could allocate their money in a different way then. I think Framber Valdez would be such a cornerstone, but any teams that are going to be trading arms are going to be asking for a shit ton given what pitchers are asking for money wise on the market.
I mean, any sort of trade that's gonna involve a starting pitcher is gonna fucking cost significant value in terms of prospects. So if the Mets decide to go that route, they're parting with good prospects. So
Yep.
hopefully Mets fans know, like if you want to get a big fish in terms of a trade, like you're giving up prospects. You're not giving somebody like garbage to get back like a Valdez or a Crochet. Like that's not happening. So
How about Luis Castillo?
yeah, I mean you're still giving something up for him too.
Dude, he's the number five.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like maybe nothing that crazy, but still a couple decent prospects.
Sure,
So,
sure.
see.
All right. Well, listen, with all those names floating around, I got to ask you, do you have a favorite player in mind, pitcher? And let's say that the Mets are going to go the trade route, Matty. Big time pitcher. Who are we giving up?
Big time
And who are we
pitcher.
getting? Yeah. Who are you targeting if you're David Stearns? Who are you targeting trade wise and who are you giving up from?
I'm calling the Marlins about either Luzardo or Alcantara. Honestly, that's what I would do. I would call specifically about Alcantara. I mean, Yuri Perez is apparently their only untouchable. I'd go Alcantara, and considering he's coming off an injury, maybe get him at somewhat of a good rate. Um, that's realistically what I would do. I don't think I like Crochet, but they're going to be asking for a lot for him. And then he's going to be fucking, he already said, like, oh, I'm not pitching without a new deal. Like, fuck you, bro. Like, no,
Yeah. What have you shown
like, you,
outside of last year?
exactly. And like last year, like, you were like 6-14. So I don't really want to hear it. Like, you haven't been in this league more than 4 years and you
Right.
haven't pitched at a high level over one. So
So with I mean I like that idea of Sandy Alcantara. Jesus Luzardo kind of scares me a little bit, just given some of his injury difficulties. Obviously, Sandy is coming off of Tommy John himself, but I don't know. I just feel like we've seen a better rate of success with Tommy John than other injuries.
I would rather just sign a pitcher. I don't want to trade for one, honestly. Use the cash.
So you would rather hold on. So with our farm system and with some of these players that have money attached to them that teams might want to try to sell,
I mean, it depends on
you
the
would
player.
rather
It
give
depends on the player.
35 to 45 million dollars to
No,
a
not
big.
that much. No, not that much.
Well, listen, all I'm saying is that Blake Snell got 36. So what the hell is Corbin Burns going to get? 40, 42, 43?
Yeah, I don't know. If you can pull off a good trade, sure. But if you're giving up Brandon Sproat in the process, dumb. Like,
No,
what do you're just adding to subtract.
I agree.
Take
I agree.
someone younger where you have arbitration, go from there. So
I
all
agree.
speculation.
No. Yes, everything's speculation for now. I will tell you though, I'll give you a little bit of a hypothetical trade because I've been thinking about this one for a little bit now. Okay, you send over Jeff McNeil, Brett Beatty, and
Who for what?
relax, I'm getting there.
Let's say who the fuck wants Brett Beatty? Who the fuck wants the squirrel?
Dude, no. Listen,
The
the
Rockies, what are we gonna get back?
no, Kyle Freeland,
Austin Gommer.
Kyle, Kyle Freeland, no, no. All right, but it's something. I'm not a fucking general manager. I should get better at it because that's what I would love to do. But no, but what I'm basically saying is, I would get rid of Jeff McNeil, and the reason why I'm saying McNeil is because this team needs infielders, and they're looking for infielders currently.
Yeah.
Send over McNeil, send over Beatty, and then you send over like a Marco Vargas. I'm sorry to our friend Ronald Hernandez who came on last week. You know, trade Marco Vargas. I would dab. Nah, they would probably want an arm as well. So maybe a. I'll say it. I'd toss around a Jonathan Santucci. Um, Send them to
Yeah, they haven't
Seattle.
seen him pitch yet. I'm not sending him out anywhere.
Sorry, dude. We did it with you know, Jerry Kelnick
Whatever.
and you know, others and
Kelnick can get bent.
yeah. All right. All right. So what about Nate Dome? Nate,
Sure.
okay. All right. Okay.
Nate Dom.
Nate Dom, whatever the hell his name is. Nate Dom, Brett Beatty, and Jeff McNeil for Luis Castillo. And the
Yeah,
Mariners are able to dump his contract.
I would do that any day of the week.
I mean, listen, it may cost
You're not giving up significant prospect value. So
okay. Now, if the Mariners turned around and said, "Yeah, we like McNeil because we need the infielder, kind of offset some money, and then we really like Nate Dom." Okay, would you deal a Ronnie Mauricio or Luis Angel Acuna instead?
probably not. No.
Because no matter what, the Mets are gonna deal if they're gonna trade for somebody, either Mauricio, Beatty, or Acuna, they're gonna be in a trade because
Yeah.
they're major league ready infielders.
Hmm.
Well, Beatty's like a quadruple A player, but we could sell him on something.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather part with fucking Beatty's ass than sign Acuna. He looked good, so
Dude,
fuck that.
he's looked amazing in the Winter League.
Yeah.
And I think that we saw some things in Acuna
Once
last year that we weren't really
once
expecting. That swing speed of him.
once we get Juan Soto news, then I think we'll get some trade news and we'll get more signings, and then the stove will finally get hot for us.
Oh boy, speaking of Juan Soto, we got breaking news. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah, I know.
No, I'm joking. But no, seriously, speaking of Juan Soto, okay? And this is gonna be the final episode, before Juan Soto's a Met. So everyone get hyped. Matt, give me what you think the Mets will do after the Mets sign Juan Soto.
Fucking Pete Alonso. Think that's right after that. And then I think maybe you go after a reliever. I'd go after Tanner Scott.
And then obviously the
But
rotation as well.
of course, I mean, but you look at different avenues, trades, you look at what you brought in already, you look at your farm system, you look at possible Rule 5 draft where there's an MLB portion. So it's all the process.
And what are you doing if the Mets don't sign Juan Soto? I'll ask you because I know you asked me earlier on.
What am I doing if the Mets don't sign Juan Soto? Probably gonna obviously bring back Alonso. Then I'd probably sign Clay Holmes, maybe a Jack Flaherty, and then maybe bring in a bat like a Santander or something. Who knows? I don't know. There's a lot of avenues you can go.
Are you a no go on Willie Adames?
I like Willie Adames, but I don't really want to move Mark Vientos off third base. So
I know. I think our defense would be much worse.
yeah,
Much worse. Not saying Vientos is a gold glover, but Adames going to a new position. He struggled defensively last year, but obviously going to third would help his case. But again, it's all hearsay and it's all just hypotheticals until we find out about Soto, which I'm so excited because we are going to find out this weekend.
thank God.
That was really good what he did though the other day when he posted that Instagram, the Celsius.
Yeah, that was sick.
That was good. Yeah, like four people
He
sent.
does, he is.
Yeah, yeah, four people sent it to me at the same time, and I'm like, all right. But seeing the breaking news, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. I wish players would release their teams like that,
Yeah,
but
just don't. God,
no.
you really?
Like sit down and fucking yeah, in front of a camera, that would be
Wait,
sick. Instead of
teams or the
having
player?
the player, I mean, like I wish
Why,
the
bro?
player
What are you trying to do? LeBron James a million times?
I think that's just cool. All right. We'll see.
I thought that was the most narcissistic thing in the world.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Well,
take a whole segment out of ESPN for 3 hours, have everyone sit on their.
all right, not 3 fucking
Yeah, it
hours. Like
was.
just
Yeah, it was. I remember being
or
young.
I'm not talking about LeBron. I'm saying if someone's do that in MLB, you don't make it 3 hours. All right.
I agree. I whatever. All right,
So
Maddie, you got anything else?
no. Juan Soto's a Met.
There it is. There it is. Juan Soto's a Met. The next time we're talking, Juan Soto will be a Met. And if not, then we were just really wrong.
Yeah.
As we said from the outset, remember to give us a follow on Instagram, YouTube, and X. We are at Cup of Mets. Subscribe to the podcast, whether it be on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Download the SeatGeek app, punch and code Cup of Mets at first purchase to get $20 off. And last but not least, head over to Smack and Sunflower Seeds, punch and code Ian05405 to get 10% off of any purchase. And I thank you all for bearing with my voice for this episode. Hopefully, we're all squared away for the next one. And for
Yep.
Matt DeSantis, I'm Ian Bosniak. Episode 30 of The Hot Stove is in the books. And we'll see you in a couple days. Let's go, Mets. Can't wait to see Juan Soto in orange and blue.
Let's go, Mets. Good night, everyone.